Writing. Mi echaron a la calle con mi bebé a medianoche. No sabían que soy multimillonaria. The cold wind cut through the empty street as a young mother stood outside with her tiny baby wrapped in a thin blanket. One suitcase rested beside her. Behind her, the front door slammed shut, and the porch light went dark as if she had never belonged there. She looked down at her sleeping child, whispered, "I promise I'll keep you safe," and wiped away tears that refused to stop falling. But the people who threw her into the night believed they had destroyed her life forever. They laughed as they locked the door, never imagining that the frightened mother they had humiliated was hiding a secret worth hundreds of millions of dollars. What happened next would change every heart involved forever. Before we begin, welcome to Corner of Kind Choices. If you love emotional stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more inspiring stories with people around the world. Emily Parker had never cared about expensive cars or luxury homes. Although she had inherited an enormous fortune after her parents passed away, she preferred a quiet life. Her parents had built one of America's largest technology companies, but they had always taught her one lesson above everything else. Money tells you what you can buy, her father often said. Kindness tells you who you really are. Emily kept her wealth private. She lived simply, wore ordinary clothes, and rarely told anyone about her family's fortune. She wanted people to know her heart before they knew her bank account. Everything changed when she met Daniel. Daniel seemed thoughtful, funny, and caring. He worked as an architect and made Emily laugh even during difficult days. After 2 years together, they married, and soon they welcomed a beautiful baby girl named Lily. Emily believed she had found the family she had always dreamed about. But after Lily was born, Daniel slowly became a different person. His mother, Carol, moved into their home to help with the baby. Instead, she criticized Emily every single day. "You don't even know how to be a mother," Carol would say. "You've changed since having the baby," Daniel added. "You're too emotional." Emily tried to stay patient. She smiled through the insults because she wanted Lily to grow up in a peaceful home. She never argued. She never complained. She simply chose kindness again and again. One evening, Daniel secretly searched through Emily's office while she was putting Lily to sleep. He had always suspected she came from money because of a few old family photos he had once seen. Instead of finding bank statements, he found simple notebooks filled with charity plans, children's hospitals she hoped to support, and scholarships she wanted to create. Thinking Emily had no money left, he laughed. "So she's pretending to be important," he muttered. The next day, Daniel and Carol made a terrible decision. Just before midnight, Daniel carried Emily's suitcase to the front door. "I want a divorce," he said coldly. Carol folded her arms. "You and that baby need to leave." Emily stared in disbelief. "It's freezing outside," she whispered. "Lily is only 6 months old." "That's not our problem anymore," Carol replied. Without another word, Daniel pushed the suitcase onto the porch. The heavy wooden door slammed shut. Emily stood there in silence, holding her sleeping daughter close. She wasn't crying because she had lost the house. She was crying because the people she loved had shown so little kindness to an innocent child. A passing taxi stopped. The elderly driver rolled down his window. "Ma'am," he asked gently, "are you okay?" Emily forced a smile. "I will be." The driver noticed the baby and quickly stepped out. "Please. Get inside. No mother and child should be outside tonight." Emily climbed into the warm taxi. When they reached a small hotel, she discovered her wallet had been left inside the house. "I don't have any money with me," she admitted. The driver smiled kindly. "Then tonight, let me help." He paid for her room without asking for anything in return. Emily thanked him with tears in her eyes. "What is your name?" "Frank." "I'll never forget your kindness, Frank." The next morning, Emily made a phone call she had avoided for years. Her family's attorney answered immediately. "Miss Parker, we've been waiting." Emily quietly explained everything. Within hours, a private security team arrived at the hotel. Frank happened to be outside drinking coffee when several luxury vehicles pulled into the parking lot. He looked confused. One of the lawyers stepped out and greeted Emily respectfully. "Good morning, Ms. Parker. Your companies are ready for your instructions." Frank nearly dropped his coffee. Emily smiled warmly. "You treated me with dignity before you knew who I was." She handed him an envelope. Inside was enough money to pay off his home, help his grandchildren attend college, and retire comfortably. Frank's hands shook. "I only did what anyone should do." Emily smiled. "Sadly, not everyone does." Meanwhile, Daniel celebrated what he believed was his fresh start. He planned to sell the house and enjoy life without responsibilities. Then his phone rang. A lawyer introduced himself. "I'm calling regarding your divorce." Daniel smirked. "There isn't much to divide." The lawyer paused. "I don't think you understand." He explained that Emily owned multiple technology companies, commercial buildings, investment funds, and charitable foundations worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Daniel's face turned pale. "What? The house you're living in? It belongs to Emily. So do several other properties." Daniel could barely breathe. Carol grabbed the phone. "There must be some mistake." "There isn't." For the first time, silence filled the house. Days later, Daniel begged Emily to meet him. She agreed, but only in a public park. Lily giggled happily as birds flew overhead. Daniel walked over slowly. "I didn't know." Emily looked at him quietly. "I know. I made a mistake." She nodded. "You did. I still love you." Emily gently shook her head. "No. You loved the version of me you imagined." He lowered his eyes. "I can change." Emily smiled sadly. "People don't reveal their character during easy times. They reveal it when someone becomes vulnerable. When I needed kindness most, you gave me cruelty." Daniel had no answer. As he walked away, he realized he had not lost millions of dollars. He had lost someone who would have stood beside him through every challenge life could bring. Months passed. Emily focused on raising Lily. But she never forgot the cold night that changed everything. Instead of seeking revenge, she built something extraordinary. She created a foundation called Midnight Hope. The organization provided emergency housing, food, baby supplies, legal support, and job training for mothers who suddenly found themselves homeless. Every woman who walked through the doors was welcomed with warm meals, clean beds, and smiling faces. No questions. No judgment. Only kindness. One afternoon, Emily visited one of the shelters without cameras or reporters. She noticed a young volunteer helping children color pictures. To her surprise, it was Daniel. He looked different. Older. Humbler. He quietly stacked donated blankets and served meals. Emily approached. "I didn't expect to see you here." Daniel smiled gently. "I volunteer every weekend." "Why?" He looked around the shelter. "Because I finally understood what you tried to teach me. Kindness isn't something you give when life is easy. It's what you choose when someone has nothing left." Emily nodded. "I'm glad you learned." "I'm sorry it took losing everything." Emily smiled, not with bitterness, but with peace. "We can't change yesterday. But we can make tomorrow kinder." Years later, Lily often asked her mother about the framed taxi receipt hanging in their living room. "Why do you keep that old paper?" she wondered. Emily would smile every time. Because one stranger reminded me that hope can arrive in the middle of the darkest night. She told Lily about Frank's kindness, about forgiveness, and about choosing compassion even after being hurt. Lily grew up believing that success wasn't measured by the size of a bank account but by the number of lives touched with love. And every year, on the anniversary of that painful midnight, Emily and Lily visited the shelter together. They served meals. They held babies while exhausted mothers rested. They listened without judging. Because Emily knew something many wealthy people never learn. The greatest fortune in life isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in kindness shared with people who need it most. If this story touched your heart, remember this simple truth. You never know what someone is carrying behind a quiet smile. A small act of kindness, a warm meal, an encouraging word, or a helping hand can completely change another person's future. Choose compassion instead of judgment, generosity instead of pride, and hope instead of fear. The kindness you give today may become the miracle someone remembers for the rest of their life.